Alright, welcome to another GC9x video. I'm KaL, and today I am joined by Bobinator
Hello.
and Muteki.
Hello, I bet you can guess what game this is.
Well, top 15. It's top 15!
HG101's top 15 games.
I can tell you, I'm probably not gonna be able that all clear. You'll see why. So this is Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. Some people you've never heard of and will probably never hear about again. Well, not one of those guys anyway.
One of the hardest Sonic games to play because it requires very specific hardware. A trackball, to be precise.
And there it is, the
Right.
trackball.
Yep.
This is why this game was never in any modern collections, because emulating a trackball is hard.
It was almost on
you'll see
one
if
of
we
them.
actually
I think it was
start playing.
almost on Gems.
Yes, it was, and that they didn't have a trackball. And this game isn't bad, but it's not very interesting to control with a joystick because most of the challenge from the game goes away. Because it's a very physical game. You have to spend a lot of your time, like, making sure that you're moving the paddle as quickly as you can. If you stop moving your ball, you get chased by stuff like the spike wall there. Basically, there's no point in this game where you're not under the constant threat of being chased by something. And so if all you have to do is just tilt a stick, then the game really isn't all that interesting because you have full control over Sonic, and you just sit
You
there.
just hold the
yeah,
direction and
yeah,
you
just
play
tilting
it
it.
like
Yeah, right.
like
Occasional jumps.
I mean,
Yeah, this game's kind of brutal because Robotics is straight up trying to murder Sonic the entire time.
well, he kidnaps our three characters, Sonic the Hedgehog, Mighty the Armadillo, and Ray the Child Molester, and...
This is Mighty's first appearance before Chaotix.
It's
But
also
yeah, he
Ray's
captures them.
only first
Yep.
appearance.
His only appearance.
We'll see why that is Cimarron.
But, you can clearly see immediately, like, you'll see Bob run at strange angles. That's because he is not using a trackball.
I am using a Hori fighter controller, which is basically a SNES controller. Well, not quite.
And
but
this game's
that's
really not
comparison.
built for a directional D-pad sort of thing. It really wants
Oh
you to
yeah,
move it.
you can't control it without using a standard, like at least a
I
joypad
wonder how
stick.
well this works with a mouse.
One of my
yes.
I was going to say, like, one of the things is that, like, non-arcade trackballs, like, if you try to use one of those to control a game like this, they don't roll freely the way an arcade trackball does. So you'll basically not be able to control Sonic as quickly as the game expects you to. It'll sort of be stuck in place a lot of the time. I would assume that would be true if you were even trying to drag a mouse across a table and lift it up very quickly. Like, that might be a more effective means of control, but again, just because the specifics of getting an authentic experience are so hard, and I don't really have a good point of comparison, this is sort of the one Sonic game that even I don't spend a whole lot of time playing. I think it's interesting to look at least a little bit, because you see several ideas in it that feel very obviously based, like games like Sonic Adventure very quickly took as inspiration. Like these ladders, like the ladders that you have to climb across gaps, showed up regularly in Adventure, but that would make it effectively the only other time that they're really in a game like this. And I think it's just because, this is like the one other time that Sonic was ever in 3D, let's see if we can take a few ideas from it.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned 3D, because definitely the visual direction of this goes in Sonic 3D and Sonic Labyrinth sort of look to it.
Yeah, the isometric perspective.
Yeah, and, I can see some of this stuff working in Sonic 3D. It's just, obvious limitations on the system. Because it's quite a nice, powerful game for 19... It says 92 on the copyright, but I believe it only came out in 93. And
Yeah.
This was pretty early on. I bet they were working on this like right after Sonic 1 if Tails didn't do anything.
Yeah, like, Ray seems like he's supposed to be Tails, but isn't actually, which is probably the reason why he never shows up anywhere else. Even then, the only reason Mighty probably showed up in Chaotix was that they wanted to get Sonic a little bit more distanced from it.
yeah, they switched out Sonic at the last second.
Yeah.
Like, make him mighty.
So we should talk about the release of this game. I'm fairly certain this only came in Japan. Wikipedia says it came in North America, but I don't know if that's actually true or not.
It probably was like 1 or 2 arcades for a very limited amount of time, like as a sort of test, location test sort of
Like,
thing.
they were considering it, because you look in the data files, you'll find KaL and Bobinator, like one sprite of him, so they must have some idea of it.
Yeah, I'm sort of surprised that it never came out at all, not even a little bit. Like, arcades were still pretty big in 92 and 93, so...
As far as I can tell, there's no English version of this. Like, there's no official English release. It was all in Japanese, so I can't think it got a widespread release outside of Japan.
Yeah, I think like with the location test, like they literally just threw the Japanese arcade machine in a couple of American arcades and said effectively, you know, have at it. Let's see how this does.
I do like that these rings are very different to the normal Sonic rings. They have like kind of a weird ratio, proportionally.
Yeah, they're almost the same size as Sonic. Like at least a sprite, I mean.
Yeah. I don't know, Bob, do you play any of the other characters in this?
I do. I switch out every so often when I have to continue.
Ah, excellent.
I do have to continue a lot, because sometimes Sonic will just veer off towards a cliff and just kind of die.
Yeah, the game just, you can't control it with like an 8-directional pad. It requires a lot more control than that.
This game was always a bit of a mystery, because for a long time, I'm pretty sure you couldn't play the full version on MAME. I think they had like a prototype running, or they didn't have the full game
prototype
dumped.
worked. Yeah, it was like the first 3 or 4 stages only. So like the water stage was missing, as was the castle.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. I like this 3D effect they got going on. I like a lot of I really like the aesthetic of this game. It's got like a lovely Sega arcade look.
Yeah, I think it might be by AM2, but I'm not 100% certain on that. It's like a low number AM division, I believe. So
Was AM2 the main Sonic division?
No, that would have been Sonic Team, or
Sonic Team.
really, yeah, like Sega Technical Institute by the time we got Sonic 2 and 3 going on.
One thing I do like
Should
about
be noted
this,
there was another Sonic arcade game prototype around this time. I forget the name of it. It was that one puzzle-ish game.
which they uncovered recently.
Yeah.
Now I switched to Mighty Shark, and he's like exactly the same.
Yeah,
all
they're
three
all
characters are.
identical characters. The only real difference is their sprite. And the reason there are 3 of them is because there are some versions of the arcade machine apparently that have support for 3 players all at once. The one that we're emulating here just supports 2 characters, but there are definitely machines out there that support 3.
Only in
So you
Japan.
can have all 3. Yeah, you can have all 3 characters at once, but again, you know, who knows if there are even any running anywhere, even on like what was I going to say? Enthusiast basis.
I guess it's interesting, as a Sonic note, these levels are not called zones.
Yeah, there's
They're-
they're just sort of areas, I guess.
Yeah,
I
like,
appreciate the alliteration, though.
yeah, they're all alliterated, but there's no,
Yes,
I love when Sonic levels are alliterated. That's great.
it's always fun. Yes. Oh. Yes, zip lines, which would later show up again in Sonic 3 and then a few times in Sonic Adventure. I feel like this level, out of all of them, is the one that feels most like Sonic Adventure, partly because there is literally a
Basically
segment
Red
where...
Mountain, isn't it?
Yeah, Red Mountain, exactly. And, you know, there's also the getting chased by the giant balls, Indiana Jones style, that showed up in Lost World. So again, I mean, they probably looked at this when they were trying to make Sonic Adventure, but it's not... I love that bit
I'm
there,
sorry.
right there with
That's-
the picture.
that's a
just
fantastic
so great.
gag.
I was smashing all the directions as hard as I could. and
I think
nothing
you're
happened.
supposed to jump is the problem. Like, if you were just mashing the directions, that's why you screwed up, because they want you to jump to get out of there. I seem to recall that from when I was playing this, but again, it's been so
Here's the
long.
game's only boss.
Yeah.
And it's really only a difficult boss because you don't have the trackball, to be honest.
Yeah, and
Yeah, this game would probably be way easier to track build. It's very
Yeah.
short even if you don't have one.
I swear if you play, like Red Mountain, like we were saying earlier, they have a machine in the background in one of the areas that looks almost exactly like this. And I have no idea if that was an intentional reference or if it was just something they stuck in there that looked sort of similar for the heck of it. I don't know.
Well, it's obviously the Japanese department would be more aware of this game, since this
Yeah.
was not a well-known game outside of Japan.
Right. I mean, I feel like it's not a very well-celebrated game inside Japan either, because Japan mostly ignored Sonic, was my impression. And I think that's probably part of the reason why it never did very well.
So a rare bit of triple alliteration there. Wild Water Way.
3 words.
Ah, it's a lovely bridge. This is gorgeous. Look at this bridge go.
Oh,
If you guys really
Yeah,
want to
it's
know
very
the
hard
plot,
to stop.
there's no plot to
Honestly,
this.
it's
If anyone's interested, the plot is Robotnik, or Eggman-san, or whatever the hell his name would be. He vacuums up Sonic and Mighty and Ray, and then throws them onto this trap island, and they have to escape. That's the plot.
Yep.
Which is kind of interesting that they went with, like, even for Sonic, they went with a really, really lazy plot. Like, more credence to, because, like, no Chaos Emeralds, no time rings, no nothing.
Yeah, no MacGuffin collectibles at all. Just you, rings, and
Oh,
level
there we go.
speed.
Ah, finally,
There's Ray.
child molester Ray.
Can I ask why you call him that?
I call him that because he looks like a child molester. Not so much.
Okay then.
Not so much right here, but if you have a look at his official art, he just has the cold, dead eyes of someone who is, you know. You know.
So these last 2 levels are the ones that do not show up in the prototype version, and for the longest time, you could never play in MAME. It was revelatory when I finally found a version of this game that I could actually play this level
And
on.
this is probably pretty much the hardest part of the game right here. If you don't have a trackball.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I certainly approve of drowning Ray. A really nice gag with the shoes there, though. That was really, really nice. Like, there's a lot of detail packed into this very short game.
Yeah, visually it looks great. It
It's
reminds me a
decent
little
music,
bit.
too.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Return of Death Adder or whatever one it is. The
Right,
arcade,
yeah.
The Golden Axe.
Was that arcade only, or did that get in Saturn as well?
No,
Red
the only
Death
Golden
arcade
Axe game
only,
that showed
pretty
up on the
sure.
Saturn was like a fighting game.
Oh, the fighting game
The
only?
Duel's the one that was on the Saturn.
Yeah, like the
Fighting
one I'm
game.
thinking of is like is a standard beat 'em up that I think was only
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the arcades. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I sometimes forget that.
Yeah.
I love...
And one more, just for you.
At least you can keep continuing for now.
Oh, I know where this is going. Look at that guy. Look at that. Actually, it looks kind of like a monkey, actually, in that,
Yeah, nothing about him screams flying squirrel, especially the fact that he cannot fly or glide.
I believe, when he falls at some point during the game, he, like, puffs out his, flying squirrel bits, I think.
Oh,
We didn't
I didn't
see
really
that
see
bit,
when he
because,
fell.
yeah, Bob did not play as Ray during that one bit where he poses like that. This is very enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta say, I'm surprised there's like so few parts of a Sonic game where you're like being chased by somebody. You think that'd be kind of happen.
Yeah, even
We happen very rarely.
yeah, like Sonic Heroes had a bunch of that. Sonic Adventure, I guess, technically had a couple places, but they were almost on rails. And
yeah, like I mean,
guess there's the truck in Sonic
legendary
Adventure too.
opening to Sonic Adventure where you get chased by the whale for like 1 second.
Yeah, and even then it's all dash panels
Oh, yeah,
anyway.
I guess that counts.
So it's
You
kind
know,
of
there was always more of a just kind of like a visual flair. They didn't usually have a threat.
I'm talking to me more like some of those levels in Crash Bandicoot, or something like this.
Well, the problem with these,
Yeah.
and you kind of ran into it right here, is they're extremely difficult.
Yeah, this is kind of like
I do like that, like, Eggman car face stone thing.
so you all said Crash Bandicoot a minute ago?
Yes, Bob.
Yeah, we were talking about
Bob said it.
games where you get chased by stuff.
Yeah, this is
That.
yeah, that's sort of the funny thing is that Sonic over time has gotten more and more like Crash Bandicoot.
Take a note of the bottom right.
This is oh yes, right. The end of the game.
Ha ha ha, you found me. Have a time limit.
And now you
And
have
this
20
is
seconds
last
to
second
get
game.
to the very end of this area. Again, you like really have to like roll the trackball like crazy to get through here. There are no other obstacles, but you gotta like just run like mad.
Oh, come on.
Bob could have made it, but no.
Yep.
And then Ray died in a horrible hellfire of an explosion.
You failed.
Rest in peace, 1993 to 1993.